Hello and welcome to part 2, the buffing, polishing, final cleaning, and painting. Started out using a wire wheel on my grinder to get all the hard to get rust off of these pieces, including the handles and the engine mount shafts. Then I went over to some buffing wheels. These buffing wheels are by PURUI and they are excellent. I am now priming the coarse wheel. This is what it looks like before. Then I went ahead and went over to the pre-polishing wheel after thoroughly cleaning the compound off. And now to the final polishing wheel. And basically you have a close to mirror finish on there. I can also show you what it looks like on the old and the new. And after every buffing, I use my buffing rake by a company called FANXIANG, and it is really good. It gets all of the compound off of the wheels and resets them. These are the handles before and after, and everything is pretty much done and polished. On we go. I took isopropyl alcohol and kept wiping with a paper towel until I saw no grease. Some pieces did not require any tape. The paint stripper is Citrus and it did a really good job and really quickly, if I might add. The cleaner that you can get the piece before you paint, the better results you'll have with the paint, obviously. So on the engine, there is a thermal cooled shield, and I decided not to paint that so that heat could better dissipate. So I used some of my painting paper to tape that up. The tape and razor blade method worked well. It's best to get all of the pieces that have been machined and that are touching other pieces, machine parts, and get them all taped. The paint is just only going to interfere with the fluid of motion. Went ahead and cleaned the base one more time. Even after cleaning it initially, there was still quite a bit of grease, and I did not want the machine part of the base where the T-slots are to be painted, so I went ahead and taped that as well. The paint is by Rustoleum. It is a primer and paint in one can. The color is called black stainless steel, and I think it did a fine job. The best thing to do is give light coats multiple times to get even coverage. Everything got 3 coats. Surprisingly, I only used 2 cans. I bought 3 just in case. plastic was becoming problematic, so I decided to use paper. During this whole process, I used some goggles and a respirator. There's a lot of harsh chemicals, including lead paint, and I definitely recommend protecting yourself. This is the switch that the paint had eventually rubbed off. I went ahead and taped the edges and sprayed the inner part black like the original switch was. Here you see some pieces drying. I used coat hangers to counterbalance them. It took about 24 hours for the paint to cure. This is the base where the machine part was. I decided to sand it down, get it nice and smooth. I used 40, 60, 80, 120, and then finished it off with some paste wax. The same exact process was used for the drill press table. In addition, I tried a new method of getting some polishing compound on a rag and using the hook and loop part of the sander to buff this table, and it worked quite well. The important thing is to let that sander spin, especially when you're using sandpaper, or you'll get those notorious curly cues. After cleaning the compound thoroughly, I gave it a little paste wax to protect it from rust. So it's time to get these bearings pressed, and I went to my local metalsmith, Bradley. And he did a fine job with his pneumatic press. This just motivated me to buy one for myself. All bearings are different sizes, but I will go ahead and post the bearings that I used for this project in the link below. This is the bearing locking nut. Turns out that a handheld grinder's tool works just perfect. It has this perfect spacing for the slots in this nut. Checking to see if the spindle spins. Now I'm just going to put the collar Make sure it's locked down. And to finish it off with the chuck release. Well, this completes this episode. Stay tuned for the next assembly and final touches. Thank you for watching.